Hi, this is Ashley Farney with my AEP 855 final project. I chose the topic of advocating access for early childhood education. This idea of equal access to early childhood education is of interest to me because my degree is in early childhood education, but also I've had some experience with my undergrad degree and observing in a variety of early childhood settings, including infant rooms, toddler rooms, and also preschool rooms. I definitely saw a big difference between private preschools and childcare settings and then with the public ones. I've taught both first and second grade and have seen firsthand the achievement gap that can already be there even at that young of age. I do believe that early childhood education is vital in closing this achievement gap. These are some of the goals of my presentation. First, to identify why access to early childhood education is a social justice issue. Then I will give information and data on why early childhood education is necessary. Then I will define equal access to early childhood education and discuss the importance as presented by several articles. And last, I will identify what leaders can do to ensure access to equal early childhood experiences. I included these points as to what educational leaders do through their work. They advocate for all students by ensuring that all receive the best education possible by providing appropriate learning experiences. In this presentation, obviously, I'm advocating for equal access to early childhood education. This issue for access to education is a social justice issue. Education should be equal, right, fair, despite race, gender, and socioeconomic status. All children need quality early childhood learning. It shouldn't matter where you live or whether a private preschool can be afforded. It should be available for all children. I found 3 studies and reports that address access in early childhood education. The first one focuses on equity in education in terms of the effect on economics. The second article focuses on early childhood education in many countries around the world. And the third article I found focuses on the importance of early learning with the effect on later ACT testing for college prep. The full references for these articles will be found on my last slide. Now I will discuss why early childhood education is important. The ACT Research and Policy Report identified 4 key points. The first one was that learning takes time. The report suggested that fewer topics should be covered in greater depth. The second point was that learning is cumulative. As teachers, we know that learning in upper grades builds on the learning in the lower grades, and early childhood education helps to provide that solid foundation for kids. The third point was that a student's interest develops early. If interest is developed early, this will translate into greater learning. I feel that this is really important for lower elementary teachers. Like I said earlier, I teach second grade, and already by the time they have reached me, some students are not that interested in being there. If we can spark an interest in something early, this will hopefully be enough to keep them engaged through their schooling by relating things to their interests. The final point made focused on how difficult it can be to catch kids up, especially at the middle and high school level. This article gave percentages on how likely students who were off track in reading, science, and math were to catch up. The percentages were not very promising. For example, kids that were behind in 8th grade had only a 10% chance of meeting grade level benchmarks in 12th grade, and in math it was only a 3% chance of reaching those benchmarks. To strengthen early learning, the same article identified 3 ways to accomplish this. One way was to be sure that kids have a strong start in reading, specifically decoding and math. Early childhood education is one way to get that strong start. The second way was that all students need access to content-rich curriculum. This is crucial for disadvantaged kids because they often lack vocabulary and have had fewer learning experiences than kids that are not disadvantaged. This report also emphasized social behaviors. Social behaviors included behaviors like paying attention, completing assignments, persisting in difficult tasks, and thinking before acting. When children attend school prior to first grade, they can already begin working on those social skills. Many of those social skills obviously will affect their academics as they progress through school. The earlier social skills can be learned, the better. Like I said at the beginning of my presentation, the focus is on equal access to early childhood education. Access can be defined as the availability and provision of programs and services for all children. Provision of programs would be supplying or providing those opportunities. Availability would be that these programs need to be available despite location, cost of the program, or other factors. Services for all means that all children, despite gender, race, and social class, deserve access to high quality early childhood education. I just thought this quote was very appropriate. It says, "Investing early allows us to shape the future. Investing later chains us to fixing the missed opportunities of the past." Early childhood education allows us to shape a child's future, which can ultimately impact our future because today's youth obviously will be tomorrow's leaders. Okay, the information on this slide comes from an article written by James Heckman, and he addressed the idea that education equity has an effect on economics. This article stressed that early childhood education is not only positive for the disadvantaged children and their families, but also promotes economic efficiency. My next slide will explain how early childhood outcomes affect our economy. Through research and studies, they concluded that cognitive ability predicts schooling, wages, health, participation in crime, and later overall success in life. Those cognitive abilities can be jump-started with early childhood learning. Students that struggle early in school will most likely struggle in middle school, high school, and even college. Students that are more successful are more likely to be the ones that go to college, get good jobs, and lead more productive lives. With that being said, I know there are always those students that are resilient and work hard and accomplish many things despite their situations. But this particular article by James Heckman spoke of that relationship between education and economic efficiency. James Heckman proposed several ways to ensure success in early childhood settings, including addressing cognitive abilities as well as character traits. Character traits that seem to have a positive effect were perseverance, motivation, self-esteem, self-control, and forward-thinking behavior. Both cognitive abilities and character traits can be predictors of success later in life. The information provided in the next few slides came from a study done by the Education International Early Childhood Education Task Force. The task force believes that the most important reason for early childhood education is that it benefits the child. This is different from the views of the previous article. The previous article obviously focused on how early childhood can affect the economy, whereas this article focuses mainly on the child. In this particular study, they focused on 17 countries to gain a more global view of early childhood. I'm just obviously going to focus on the portion that deals with the United States. This study found many trends. One was that early childhood education programs are funded from many sources, including community funds, government funds, private funds, or church funds. Another trend was that there were fewer services available for children to age 3 than for older children. The third trend was that fewer children in poverty attended early childhood programs. These were the findings from that study. In 2005, a total of 57% of children aged 3 to 5 were enrolled in early childhood programs. The early childhood programs included in that statistic were daycare centers, Head Start programs, preschool, and pre-kindergarten programs. The other statistic was of those children enrolled, so of those 57%, around 40% came from homes below the poverty level, while 60% came from homes above the poverty level. So fewer children who came from homes of poverty attended early childhood programs, and this was even less for children birthed to age 3. I decided to include a slide on what leaders can do to be an advocate for equal access to early childhood education. Leaders obviously could be principals, teachers, reading specialists, or parents, like in parent organizations. And so what I wrote was that leaders must advocate for students birthed to age 3, encourage both academics as well as character traits, create a vision for how to provide services to those kids, and enlist others to help while also searching for opportunities. Oftentimes leaders have to enlist others to help. It's a real effort to get things done, as well as search for opportunities for your cause. With any new project, there will always be challenges. Here I have identified some possible challenges. One challenge in providing equal access to early childhood education could be that resources may not be available. For example, if a district is getting ready to start a preschool program, they would need the building space available for another classroom, as well as a teacher or several teachers. Another challenge could be with inadequate funding to keep the program going for many years. Another challenge might be not having support from the community. There could be a bond issue that might be needed to get this going, and if you don't have the community support, that might not work. The fourth issue that I've identified is that families may not recognize the importance of what you are advocating. Families may not want to send their child until required to. And with any challenge, an effective leader will have to be creative in the ways that these challenges are addressed. Okay, I'm going to end my presentation here with access to early childhood education is an equalizing factor for kids, a way to close the achievement gap sooner, a way to promote early literacy and math skills, and it is what's best for kids. And there are my references. Thank you.